I want to welcome my friends, my god brothers, my god sisters, and whomever else is going to join us today. Let's see here. Monday was a Radhashtami, the appearance day of Sri Radha, Radharani. That is Radha. Oops, wrong side. There, it's backwards, the other way for me. That's Radha, and she is with Krishna. And that is his divine consort. So I'll just do like this. The first Radhashtami I attended was at the Toronto Temple in 1973. So it was a few years ago, almost 50. Om Gyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jai Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jai Radhe. So let us begin. Loving Radha. Let us first define our relationship with God. Which were you taught in childhood or led to believe? Number one, there is no God. Doesn't exist. Atheist approach. Number two, I am God. Yeah, I'm the guy. Or you, in other words. Or number three, I fear God. God's something to be feared because of his retribution, his anger, and his retribution. Fire and brimstone. Or number four, I love God. God is meant to be loved. Well, here we do Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love and devotion. Anyway, which of these have you cultivated since childhood? What happens when you suffer reversals or negative karma in your life? Do you accept it as your karma, your just desserts? Or do you become angry with God? Do you blame him? How could you do this to me? Here we practice the Bhakti Yoga tradition. There are many types of yoga, as most of you know. Bhakti Yoga aims to develop our love and devotion to God. As your love and devotion to God increases and becomes stronger, it automatically reduces your fears. Fears of what? Well, we have many fears, my friends. We have fears of people, of other nations, of what's happening in the world, disease, the so-called pandemic, of terminal illness, of negative karma and various difficulties in your own life, and of course, the ultimate fear, death. As you raise your faith, your belief, as you increase the strength of your relationship to God, Krishna, in love and devotion, your fears will proportionately decrease, my friends. If you want a method of determining how advanced you are becoming spiritually, wonderful method. Works very, very well. Excuse me. So let's talk about Radha. Radha is the divine feminine. If Krishna is God, then who is Radha? Radha is the embodiment of the highest love and appreciation of Krishna. As I've told you many times, as we know in Vedanta, and Bhagavad Dharma. There's no God without the goddess. There's no yang without the yin. There is no Purusha without Prakriti. The balance must be there. To have will is the masculine principle. Manifestation of that will is the feminine principle, according to Vedanta. To perform devotional service, bhakti means to follow in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani. The devotees of Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani. Vrindavan is the place where Krishna spent his childhood. It is a very, very sacred place. It's a small place. Well, getting bigger these days, but it's a small place. Back when I first visited, 1976, it was called the village with 5,000 temples. It is true. It was true. So Radharani, the devotees of Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. You want to develop your devotion, your love for Krishna, and your sadhana, your devotional practice, your spiritual practice, then you take shelter of Radharani. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In Vrindavan, they greet each other, Radhe, Radhe. If you say to a Rajavasi, a resident of the holy dham, of the holy place, that you're happy to be here in Krishna's place, Krishna's holy dham, they say, oh, no. This is Radha's place. They know to whom it belongs. Radha is the chief in Vrindavan. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that Mahatmas or great souls are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy. Mahatmanastu Mamparta, Daiving Prakritim Ashrita. The great souls take shelter of the internal energy, the Daivi Prakriti. Daivi means divine. It's very, very different than the external energy. And when you enter into a yoga practice with some seriousness, you will soon come under the protection of the Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy. How will you know you're under that protection? Because things begin to happen in your life in ways that you never imagined, my friends. Your life becomes no longer a mundane slog. It becomes a charmed life. You don't believe me? Test it out. See if it doesn't happen. But you're going to have to put some time and energy in to begin with. At least a year. At least a year. Unless you're a very advanced soul, it might happen instantly. But think about at least a year to get it up and running. Radharani. So Radharani is the internal energy, to continue. So being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts Krishna himself. That's how it works. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, Nasadayati mam yogo, nasankyam dharma uddhava, na swadhyayas tapastyago yatha bhaktir mamorjita. This is Krishna directly speaking to his cousin, Uddhava, who he had many exchanges with while he was here on earth, some 5,000 years ago. Uddhava is a wonderful soul. Krishna says, my dear Uddhava, you may know it from me that the attraction I feel for the focused devotional service, bhakti, which is rendered by my devotees, cannot be attained. How? Even by the performance of mystic yoga, mystic siddhis or powers, philosophical speculation, jnana yoga, ritualistic sacrifices, yajna or homa, sacred fire ceremonies, the study of Vedanta, the practice of severe austerities, tapas, or the giving of everything in charity, dana. These are, of course, very noble activities, Krishna says, but they are not as attractive to me as the transcendental loving service rendered by my devotees. So the last line of that verse is yata bhaktir mamorjita. As with my bhakti, mama bhakti, yata bhaktir mama urjita. Very significant word here, because it modifies bhakti. And what does it mean? Urjita means focused, intense, powerful, topmost. So it's not just any old bhakti, any old love and devotion, kind of when I'm in the mood. It's focused. That's how you want that result, that's how it works. So who is Radha? Radha is the pleasure potency of the Godhead. Hladini Shakti. Shakti means potency, Hladini means pleasure potency. So now I'd like to look at some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, written by Krishna Das Kaviraj, and he was present during Chaitanya Lila, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here on earth 500 years ago. And in this particular section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the section in Madhya Lila, where Chaitanya himself, who is an incarnation of both Radha and Krishna combined, if you can imagine. So he's the walking version of the love of Godhead. And that's the best way to explain it to you. He met Ramananda Roy on the bank of, I don't know, was it the Godavari? Does somebody know? The Kaveri? It was in South India. It's one of those sacred rivers in South India. And he asked for Ramananda Roy to instruct him, which he did. So these are some of those verses that when Ramananda Roy was speaking to Chaitanya. He says, the body of Srimati Radharani is a veritable embodiment of love of Godhead. She is the dearmost friend of Krishna, the dearmost friend. And this is known throughout the world. You can be a friend. Many of us are friends to other people who are friends, or to people who are not friends, but we might become a friend. But the dearmost friend, the highest possible friend, not to just anybody, this is to God himself. Then the next verse, that supreme ecstasy of Srimati Radharani is the essence of spiritual life. To follow in her footsteps, to find and walk the path that she walks in order to feel that supreme ecstasy of Krishna Prema, love of Godhead. He continues, her only business is to fulfill all the desires of Krishna. That's her only business. That's the business at hand for Radha. Fulfill all of Krishna's desires. So here in this world, we want to fulfill the desires of whom? Family, friends, loved ones, clients, customers. Whose name's at the top of that list more often than not? Oh, me, our own desires, the ego. Is this the self, the higher self, the Atman? No. This is generally the ego. No offense to you advanced souls out there. And so, again, you want to see how advanced you are, spiritually speaking? Well, on that list of people whose desires you're busy fulfilling day in and day out on various days, Where does Krishna fit in? See at the bottom of that list, down here? See somewhere in the middle? Has he reached the top of the list yet? Again, another way to measure how far you've come in your bhakti practice. Uddhava continues. I'm sorry, not Uddhava, Ramananda Roy. Srimati Radharani is the topmost spiritual gem. And the other gopis, such as Lalita, Vishaka, and so on, are expansions of her spiritual body. Think about that now. The other gopis are expansions of her spiritual body. So she's the topmost servitor of Krishna. And when she's not with Krishna, she thinks about how she may serve him the next time they're together, or yearns for that opportunity to serve him once again. What to speak of when she's with him, when she's beside herself with her deep, heartfelt desire to render service to him. In what way? More ways than we can count, my friends. So let's just take an example. Let's take a mundane example. Try to make this comparison with Radha. Forgive me, it's mundane at this point. Suppose you give a dinner party for 12 people, and you know them all very, very well. And you know what they like and what they don't like and what their natures are, because everybody's nature is different. And which ones are quiet and which ones are talkative, and etc. Supposing, and now you may be a wonderful host or hostess, and you can zip around the dinner table and serve and comfort people and make sure and ask, go get what they want. This, I don't like this, I like that, and run and get it. Supposing you can manifest yourself 12 different times, 12 different manifestations or avatars, if you will, of you, and wait on each one of them at the same time. This is how Radha thinks about waiting on Krishna, or and manifests herself as Lalita, Vishaka, and all the rest of the Ashtasakis, the 8 Sakis, primary Sakis. So this is what she does. As she has a desire to do that, this gopi automatically comes and does it. Can you imagine? So, continuing. Srimati Radharani's transcendental body is brilliant in luster. She shines like the sun. She has a beautiful effulgence coming from her form. We know that Krishna's form is like a monsoon cloud. It is bluish, blackish. So any of you that have a problem with racial discrimination, your problem has been solved. God is not any of the colors that you know from any of the races here on earth. He's bluish, blackish. So, hey, doesn't that solve the problem? You know, if white people paint them, they paint them white. If black people paint them, they paint them black. And if Middle Eastern people paint them, they paint them Middle Eastern. That's how it works. So Krishna's bluish, blackish, and Radha has a golden body, golden complexion. Tapta kanchana gaurangi, tapta kanchana, like molten gold. It's described. Brilliant in luster and full of all transcendental fragrances. Radha has them all. Lord Krishna's affection for her is like a perfumed massage, Ramananda Roy says. Like a perfumed massage. Well, if you love a massage, a good massage, I do. In fact, I get them regularly. And this is a perfumed massage. So what are some of the fragrances that would come off the body of Sri Radha? Let's recount some. Sandalwood, jasmine. What else? rose, musk, camphor, parijata, the heavenly flower, which we don't have here, maybe even magnolia, one of my favorites. All at once, do we get inundated with these? No, they fade in and fade out. It's kind of like that. Next verse. Srimati Radharani takes her first bath in the shower of the nectar of compassion. And she takes her midday bath in the nectar of youth. There's no love, my friends, without compassion. Not possible. There are many compassionate people out there. You may be among them. You may know various people who are very compassionate. I know several, but I've never met anyone like I did with my guru, Prabhupada, and his degree of compassion. I've never met anyone on that level before, when I met him in 1974 or since. There's no love without compassion, and compassion always leads to love if we let it develop and expand. And her midday bath in the nectar of youth. Krishna, the gopis, those in the spiritual world, they can take on any form, any age, because there's no aging like there is here in the material world, where your body starts to wear out and get old, unless you prefer to have a body like that. So Radha and Krishna are always in the bloom of youth. They're somewhere in their mid-teens. So they have the youth and the innocence and the beauty of newly bloomed youth. In Sanskrit, Navayovana. This term is always used to describe Krishna and Radha, Navayovana. How important is youth in our world, my friends? What will people do to hang on to youth or to recapture their youth as they get older? From what age? Well, even from 40. From 40, people can start to look older. The lines come around the eyes, etc. So what do they do nowadays? Well, we have Botox. We have tucks, and they vacuum the fat out of you. Not a nice concept, if you wish. And you can go under the knife, as they say, and get cosmetic surgery. Does it help? Does it make you look better? Potions and lotions and cosmetics, they can help. Yeah, I mean, it might help you in terms of your facade, but it doesn't stop the march of the aging process. Next verse. After her midday bath, Radharani takes yet another bath in the nectar of bodily luster. That's her beauty. And she puts on the garment of shyness. Bodily luster, what is that? Obviously, it's her physical beauty, which is astounding. And if we saw her right now, if she was to appear in front of us right now, the vast majority of us would be speechless, honestly, because we would never have seen anybody that beautiful before. But what is her bodily luster? It's her charisma. She's irresistible. She cannot be resisted. And I don't mean in terms of lust. That's not what I mean. It just means the pure appreciation of youth and beauty. Shyness, it says, she puts on the garment of shyness. So she's chaste, she's shy, She's bashful. She's feminine. She is withdrawn. This is the essence of the feminine. Young girls are losing this nowadays, not just young girls, young boys. It's a little bit different between girls and boys. I know some of you are going to say, that's sexist. Yeah, it is sexist. I'm sexist. I actually acknowledge there's a difference between the male and the female. I do. Because I know that there is. Anyway. So we find girls in primary school, late primary school, secondary school, sexting. They're revealing and cheapening their secret, sacred, feminine gifts. Their secret, sacred places. These are not to be shared with boys who are trying to exploit them or lust after them. And so we're losing the essence of the feminine in terms of the purity and simplicity and chastity by this sexting thing. And the more it's done and the more one becomes exposed to people who are just trying to exploit you. I know, popularity contest. I understand that. The more one loses the essence of their soul, their spiritual essence. This is what becomes sacrificed in this process. This intimacy of the feminine body should only be shared with someone who loves them and not trying to exploit them. So that's why Radha puts on the garment of shyness. Next verse. The ornaments decorating her body are the blazing ecstasies of goodness, and the constantly existing ecstasies headed by jubilation and unbridled joy. Jubilation and unbridled joy. Well, let me see. What is it we're all looking for in this world, my friends? Is it not happiness? Is it not Sat Chit Ananda? It's Ananda. It's happiness and joy for no particular reason. Unadulterated joy. Not attached to anything, just cause. Because we are in our spiritual identity, we've reclaimed it, we are experiencing it, we no longer need to identify with dead things, inert things, and things that decompose, dwindle, fall apart, and die, which is what in the material world? Everything. Be it a person, an animal, an object, plants, trees, birds, everything ends up. It's dead matter. It's only enlivened by the presence of spirit temporarily, and then it begins to fade and dwindle and fall apart, and then the spirit can't sustain life in it anymore. Why do we keep thinking that this is what's worth pursuing? When will we wake up? When will we see the truth and focus solely on Atma, on soul, and your true spiritual being? That's where the joy, that's where the jubilation and the unbridled joy can be found, nowhere else. And that's what Bhakti delivers. Love and devotion to Krishna delivers this. Continuing on this verse, all these ecstasies are the ornaments all over her body. She's ornamented with her ecstasies. I mean, if you've had one legitimate ecstasy or two in your lifetime, well, God bless you, my friends. Can you imagine being totally ornamented in your ecstasies? They can't be connected to the mundane world, however. Radha does not give away these ecstasies to Krishna out of lust. She surrenders them. She surrenders herself and her ecstasies to Krishna out of love, out of bhakti, not out of lust. People sometimes get confused about Radha Krishna and their pastimes and their exchanges, thinking it's similar to a man and a woman, a boy and a girl in this world, and it's based on lust. It's not. Pure love of God is not contaminated by lust. It's not contaminated by material feelings, thoughts, or impulses. It's pure. It's innocent. So I'd like to quote an excerpt from my book, not yet published, Sun, Man, Moon, Woman, The 7 Steps to Harmonious Relationships, because I want to draw a parallel here for you. Let's draw a parallel between intimacy with love and intimacy without love. Intimacy with love serves the heart. Intimacy without love serves the genitals. Intimacy with love replenishes the spirit. Intimacy without love drains the spirit. Intimacy with love fills the heart. Intimacy without love empties the heart, drains the spirit. Intimacy with love expands the self, the true self, the Atman, the soul. Intimacy without love diminishes the self. Intimacy with love provides lasting benefit. Love sustains. Even mundane love sustains people and keeps them going. When somebody loves you and believes in you and recognizes you and sees you and is there for you through thick and thin, in sickness and in health, in good times, bad times, until death do us part, marriage vows. When you have somebody who actually sees and appreciates who you are and expresses that love sustains even on a mundane level. If you bring in the spiritual aspect of that as well, bringing God down. So if you have a man and a woman here, right? These are 2 points. And then the topmost point is the divine, is Krishna, is God. Now you got your sacred triangle. You want to have a spiritual relationship? It's this. It's not linear. This is a mundane relationship, man and woman, down here, walking the earth like this. You're bringing in the divine energy. Mm-hmm. That's how you have a sacred relationship. So intimacy with love provides lasting benefit, and intimacy without love provides temporary release. The release people have sexually, that orgasm provides. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it's still mundane. Intimacy with love produces happiness. Intimacy without love produces pleasure. Is there no pleasure involved? No, there's pleasure involved. We all know that. Sexual satisfaction is stated in the Vedas to be a heavenly experience. Heavenly meaning celestial, meaning the higher planets. Not the spiritual world, don't mistake. We're talking about the spiritual world also. Let's not forget that. But here I'm talking even on the mundane level. What's better, happiness or pleasure? Pleasure comes and goes. Pleasure, you satiate it, we're done. Happiness is something that lasts. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being. Intimacy with love delivers a feeling of loving intimacy. Intimacy without love delivers shame, embarrassment, and regret. Intimacy with love is an act of surrender, like Radha Krishna. Intimacy without love is an act of conquest. I'm going to have her. Did you get her? Yeah, I had her. Good for you. You're a man. Act of conquest. Nothing sacred about that. Continuing, Ramananda Roy in the next verse says, the tilak of good fortune is on Radha's beautiful broad forehead. Her various loving affairs are a gem, and her heart is the locket. So interesting. The tilak of good fortune. In case any of you don't know, this is tilak. It's a sacred mark, and it is applied with a mantra. Om Namo Narayanaya. This particular. And we do this so many places on the body. And protect the body with names of God. Narayan, Vishnu, Damodar, etc. So nowadays, what do we have? People don't wear tilak. What do they have instead? Tattoos and piercings. That's the tilak of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga tilak, tattoos and piercings, which have become very, very common. What, in the last, how many years now, would you say? Is it as many as 25 or is 20? I think it's about that now, or longer even than 25 years. Now, in fairness, some of the tattoos I can read in Sanskrit, Radhe Sham, Radha Krishna, or the whole Hare Krishna mantra, Maha Mantra, or Om Shanti. Another popular one is Om Mani Padme Hum, the Tibetan one, Jewel within the Lotus. Seen that one a few times. Or some Chinese characters that we're not sure what they are unless you read Mandarin, but they're supposed to be auspicious. Continuing, next verse. Ramananda Roy says, Srimati Radharani's gopi friends are her mental activities. Wow. Which are concentrated on the pastimes of Krishna. Can you imagine? We only have two arms. As you know, Vishnu has 4 arms. Krishna has 2 arms. If he goes into his Vishnu form, he can have 4 arms. He can have as many arms as he wants. Durga Devi, Mahamaya herself, the external energy, she's the goddess of the external energy, has 10 arms. The more arms you got, the more you're capable of doing, correct? So can you imagine? Her mental activities are concentrated on the pastimes of Krishna. So whatever you want to do with Krishna, if the thought comes into your head, it happens. In Radha's case, a gopi appears and is summoned by the thought and carries out the thing that Radha wants done. But of course, gopis are all expansions of Radha herself. So it's as though if you wanted to accomplish anything, you could expand yourself with a thought and you could keep doing what you're doing and that would get taken care of. Talk about multitasking, my friends. This has got to be the ultimate of multitasking. It's fantastic. So Prabhupada has a comment here on this verse. He says, Radharani's 8 companions, the Ashtasakhi, are different varieties of pleasure connected with the pastimes of Krishna. Following those pastimes of Sri Krishna are other activities which are represented by the assistants of the gopis. The gopis have assistants. What do they call them? Upasakis, or there's another name for them. Text me if you know that name. Anyway, so these are the Upasakis. There's no limit to what can be achieved. Whatever thought you have, boom, it gets done. Someone comes in and carries it out. I love it. I can just imagine how that would work. Do you want to be one of those Sakis, my friends? Would you like to assist Radha directly in her pastimes with Krishna? This is possible. This is possible. You can be in Madhurya Rasa. That's one of the eternal pastimes that you could be involved in. I won't get into the Pancha Rasa, the 5 rasas at this time, but it's possible. Next verse. Srimati Radharani's earrings are the name, fame, and qualities of Lord Krishna. The glories of Lord Krishna's name, fame, and qualities are always inundating her speech. That's what she likes to talk about. Krishna's qualities. Beautiful. Because there's nothing like them. There's nothing superior. There's nothing as transcendental. There's nothing as emotionally enlivening or fulfilling. There's nothing that brings unadulterated joy, ananda, like talking about Krishna's transcendental qualities. Now, here's a list of Srimati Radharani's 25 chief transcendental qualities. Number 1, she's very sweet. Can you imagine how sweet she must be? Number 2, she's always freshly youthful. We talked about it in Navayomana. Blooming, beautiful, innocent youth. Number 3, her eyes are restless. Darting here, darting there. Sidelong glances. Her eyes are restless because she's always looking for Krishna. Always. Or if she's with Krishna, she's looking to see what it is she could do for him next, how she can serve him. She smiles brightly. I mean, sometimes you meet people, you look at them, they might be pleasant looking, and then they smile. And their smile is just sometimes captivating. Some people have just brilliant smiles. And you can just look, oh my God, look at that smile. And it just, it draws you in. Even you know what I'm talking about. Number 5, she has beautiful, auspicious lines. This is physiognomy. In Sanskrit, samudraka, the signs of bodily markings. Yeah, hands, palms, and soles of the feet. But 3 lines here, my friends, 3 horizontal lines. You will see this on the necks of women, especially Indian women. I've seen it so many times. Now, 1 line, very common. 2 lines, less common. 3 lines, you're looking at a goddess. That's the goddess. 3 lines, 3 horizontal lines is the goddess. It's the goddess come down from Svarga, heavenly planets, celestial realms, or in the spiritual world. Or this one is on her way to becoming a goddess. I've seen all of them. And you go look at yourself in the mirror, ladies, and see if you haven't. But that's what it means. Number 6, she makes Krishna happy with her bodily aroma. Well, we talked about all of the fragrances of sandalwood and jasmine, musk, etc. But beyond that is her own bodily aroma. You know, they talk about pheromones, how we're only attracted to people whose scent we really appreciate, because everybody has a different scent, as we know. and those are pheromones, and they have a pull, a draw, and attraction to our psyche. So she has a scent too. I can't even imagine what that must be like. Okay, number 7, she's very expert in singing. When you hear a woman sing with that beautiful feminine voice, I mean, it can just be absolutely captivating and take your mind away. But sometimes it sounds like molten gold or something like that, the way their voice sounds. Anyway, but she's a great singer, an accomplished singer. She would have studied classical music, like with what the Gandharvas play. Indian classical music is more or less the same. Number 5. No, I said that. Number 8. Her speech is charming, unimaginably so. Number 9. She's very expert in joking and speaking pleasantly. Keep you interested, keep you smiling, laughing. They crack jokes, just like we do. Krishna cracks jokes, Radha cracks jokes, he cracks jokes with his friends. I mean, of course. Why not? As above, so below. Why do we like it? Why do we get so much entertainment out of people who are funny or stand-up comedy or something like that? Because it's hilarious. You know who loves jokes and even body speech? The vulgar speech is Lord Jagannath. He loves that sort of thing because he's the God of the people. It's a fact. So her speech is charming. She's expert in joking. She's very humble and meek. So when she displays all of these qualities and her beauty and her ingenious ways and her feminine wiles, it's not to expand her ego. Well, she has no ego. She doesn't have ego. In the spiritual world, there is no ego. There's no room for ego. So she's very humble and meek. I would add innocent to that. She's always full of mercy. 11, 12, she's cunning. So she can figure out ways to do things and make things happen that other people cannot necessarily do. Reminds me of my wife. In a good way. My wife is extremely resourceful. And she can figure out ways to do things that escape everybody else. And while they're all going like, what is she doing? She's already finished it and gone on to the next thing. She's amazing in that way. Number 13, Radha is expert in executing her duties. She's organized. She's together. Number 14, she is shy. Number 15, she is always respectful. Respectful to her friends, but respectful to adults, her superiors. My friends, it's important to be respectful to people in general. I try to treat everybody with respect. I don't care what their station is in life. That has no bearing on it. I don't care if they're important, highly placed, whether they're wealthy, poor, whether they're in the service industry, it doesn't matter. Radha's always calm. Well, yeah, I'm not sure about that now. I read some pastimes. She's not so calm. But number 17, she's always grave, serious. When she can be, unless Krishna comes and sweeps her off her feet. 18, she's expert in enjoying life. Well, you might argue, yeah, so am I. I'm expert in enjoying life too, or I try to be. Yeah, okay. But that's what she is. And number 19, she's situated at the topmost level of ecstatic love. We talked about that earlier. Topmost level of ecstatic love. Now you have to remember, The loving pastimes and exchanges and ecstasies between Radha and Krishna are not passive. They're not stagnant. They're ever fresh and ever dynamic. They endlessly expand to something greater and better, and endless expansion. We can't even imagine that in this world because it doesn't exist. Something can take you to a place of feeling very high or happy or enthused or inspired or motivated or pleased or loving, but it'll reach a ceiling, it'll reach a limit, and it'll stop. Not in the spiritual world. Not between Radha and Krishna. There is no limit. It doesn't stop. She's the reservoir of loving affairs in Gokula. No one knows how to give and receive love in ways, in multifarious ways, like Radha does. She is number 21, most famous of submissive devotees. Radha is famous everywhere. Number 22, she's very affectionate to elderly people. Again, very important. In India, that's in the fabric of the society. I've seen it many, many times. They're very good. I hope still. No, I haven't been to India since I was there. January, February last year. I got out just before they closed borders. Got lucky. Anyway, so that's always been how it is in India. Young people are more respectful of older people. Here in Western society, yeah, you might find a few, but a lot of them are not very respectful. Number 23, she's very submissive to the love of her friends. Yeah. When her friends express their love, she submits to it. She's the chief gopi. Mm-hmm. She's an expansion of Krishna's Ladini Shakti, pleasure potency. Number 25, she always keeps Krishna under her control. So how does she do that? By telling him what he can and cannot do? Do you think? By giving him orders? Now look here, Krishna. I'm telling you for the last time. Do you think that's how it works? I don't think so. No, by binding him with her unconditional and pure love for him. That's how you do it, ladies. I'm telling you right now, this is your big secret right here. This is the big how-to. You want to control a man? That's how you do it. Bind him with love. Let's give an example in the story of Sita and Ram. Sita was beauty incarnate, also the goddess of fortune herself, just like Radha. Within her mind, Sita could vividly read everything in the innermost core of Ram's heart. Wishing to please her husband and acting as the emblem of womanly gentleness and chastity, Sita was easily able to bring the heart of Lord Ram under her control. That's a quote in the Ramayana. That's how you do it, ladies. Here's a man giving you the big secret, okay? You're welcome. You're welcome. Radha possesses unlimited transcendental qualities, just as Lord Krishna does. So it's like, she said this and she did that. She did that? Yeah, she blew my mind. Wow. Huh? That's what you want. That's what we all want. But they keep doing it to each other. Radha and Krishna just keep blowing each other's minds and taking it to the next level and the next level and the next level. Ad infinitum. Meditate on that for a while, my friends. See if you can wrap your mind around it. Now, I thought I would read this to you because I don't know if you've read this. This is the book called Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavi Karnapur. I want to read a couple excerpts because I just love this part. He's writing about what it's like in Vrindavan. Okay. And Kavi Karnapur was a contemporary of Chaitanya. His father, his name's escaping me, when Chaitanya was, when this little boy was born, Kavi Karnapur, Chaitanya blessed him even when he was a baby, and then he became a wonderful writer and poet. So he was much younger than Chaitanya, but they were contemporaries. Okay. So this is an excerpt where King Vrishabhanu, Radha's father, in Kirtida, his mother, he was a king of his own, in his own right. They lived in Varshana, not that far from Vrindavan. Many of you have been there. I've been there several times. And they invited Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. Nanda was the king of the cowards in Vrindavan. They invited Nanda and Yashoda and Krishna, Balaram, and a few of the others to come to their palace and enjoy lunch. I guess it was lunch. So he says, upon entering the palace, King Vrishabhanu expertly arranged sitting places for his guests according to their position. He provided for all of their comforts by engaging his servants in carefully and respectfully bathing, massaging, and dressing them. In other words, he organized all this on their behalf as his guests staying with him. I guess they stayed there, for a few nights. Everyone felt happy and refreshed from the fatigue of the journey after the warm reception. Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, Krishna's foster mother, entered the kitchen to check on Radhika. Radhika is Radha, same. Appearing in Vrindavan as personified bliss, Radhika made a wonderful feast with her expert cooking and tasteful arrangements. She is a brilliant cook, my friends. So she cooked the feast. Radhika, she was young. That's not giving her age, but very young. She was a girl, not a woman. Okay, let's get that straight. Seeing Mother Yashoda entering the kitchen, Radhika offered her respectful obeisances. She bowed. Yashoda, the bearer of beauty and fame for her family, felt boundless affection upon seeing Radhika. Of course she did. Smiling joyfully, Yashoda said, "The art of cooking is like the jewel in the ornament of praise for the female class." Ladies. Even though your beautiful body is as delicate as a flower, Radha, you have taken on this heavy burden of cooking, and by doing so, your elegance has been enhanced. Although Radhika had worked very hard, she did not feel the least bit tired. Oh, why? Because she was focused on cooking for Krishna. That's why. When requested by Yashoda, Radhika felt shy about displaying all the items that she had prepared. Mother Yashoda said, "Well, can I see what you made? This is in the kitchen." Oh, well, she made so many things. Oh, I wish I would have been there. Wouldn't that be something, huh? Mother Yashoda said, "Just see what amazing delicacies you have made. One can easily perceive all your good qualities of taste, beauty, and fragrance in these astonishing preparations. Your perfect cooking has turned everything into ambrosia." It's turned everything into ambrosia. I mean, it's like you taste it. It's a transcendental experience. It's a high in and of itself, just tasting the food. Then, giving Radha a full embrace, Yashoda congratulated her, saying, "Well done, my darling. I really appreciate your expertise in cooking. Seeing your skill has removed whatever unhappiness I felt within myself." I don't know why she would feel any unhappiness, but that's what she said. Okay. After glorifying Radhika, who is expert in all the arts, right? All of the arts. How many are there? 64 arts. I've written articles on that. On my website, there's one about the 64 arts. What do I call her? Nipuna. Anyway. After glorifying Radhika, who is expert in all her arts, and her girlfriends, Yashoda turned to Rohini Devi, Rohini is the mother of Balaram, and said, "O mother of Balabhadra," Balaram, "learned persons always honor such mutual loving affection. This Radhika, who is delicate and tender by nature, has filled my heart with ecstasy. She appears in this world like an auspicious flower from Nanda Kamana. In Svargaloka, Indra, king of the gods, has a garden called Nanda Kamana. That's Indra's garden. So she appears in this world like an auspicious flower from Nanda Kamana, or a beautiful creeper of sandalwood. Radhika is the ripened fruit of the tree of Rishabhanu's piety." Isn't that beautiful? His piety, his spiritual, what's the word? His spiritual punya, his sukriti, has allowed him to father a daughter who is Sladini Shakti herself, who's the goddess of fortune herself. So, yeah, that's an understatement. What she said here. It has allowed him to father. Radhika is a rare jewel mine of the best qualities found in the three worlds, indeed. Rohini replied, "Oh, Yashoda, everything you said is perfectly correct. There's no doubt about it. Moreover, the delightful son of the Lord of Vrindavan is an ocean of good qualities, and Radhika is Sumukhi, sweetness personified. Sumukhi, sweet face. Sweetness personified. O Yashoda, this pair of jewels is the central ornament on the neck of the goddess of Vrindavan." So the goddess, that Vrindavan, the location itself, has its own goddess. Naturally, everything is personal, my friends. Everything is personal. I've told you this time and time again in the past. They give pleasure to anyone who sees or hears about them. Radha Krishna. Then there's a statement. Radhika has a natural ability in her hand so that whatever she cooks exhibits the best qualities of taste, beauty, and fragrance. Besides enjoying the meal, this is now at the end of the meal, Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, foster father, especially appreciated the cooking expertise of Radhika. Fully satisfied, he laughed and joked with great joy. With great gusto, he relished the 6 kinds of tastes, which Radha had presented in a pleasing way, the Shadrasa. This is all connected to Ayurvedic cooking, my friends. All of these sciences are connected. Ayurveda, Jyotish, Vedic astrology, Vastu, sacred architecture, all of it. You can go on and on. But Shilpa Shastra, sculpture, all of it. It's all in the Vedas. It's a storehouse, a wealth of knowledge that just keeps on giving. I've been absorbed in it more or less myself for 50 years. And I feel like I know this much, and I've exposed myself to a lot, to be honest. Anyway, With great gusto, he roused six kinds of tastes, which Radha had presented in a pleasing manner. He gave the utmost praise to Radhika for cooking so perfectly. Balaram and his friends felt full satisfaction. Krishna experienced exceptional flavors while eating the food cooked and served by Radhika. Since all the preparations contained the fragrance of her conjugal love for Krishna, Krishna savored the sweet madhurya rasa of Radhika's heart with every bite. Can you imagine? Radha's cooking. I'll tell you. I cook in my house. I cook. I've cooked prasad, Indian style, for about 50 years. I don't cook as good as the Indians, so I don't want to overstep my bounds here. The Indian women, I mean, they're the men too. But what I do when I start cooking, I pray to Radha. I always pray to Radha, so that she helps me, and she helps me cook the meal, and usually turns out pretty good. Okay. Then Yashoda addresses Radhika. Hey, Vrishabhanu Nandini, your preparations give complete satisfaction. From now on, listen to this. My dear son Krishna must only eat food cooked by your hands. Did you know that? That from that time forward, when Krishna was still a boy, Radha was the cook for him. He will no longer, she continues, Yashoda continues, he will no longer accept any meal cooked by another. So in very sweet words, I will seek permission from your elders, and definitely they will allow you to cook for my son. For doing this service, I will reward you with opulent dresses and ornaments. From now on, you must come to my house and prepare all of Krishna's meals with a joyful heart. On hearing Yashoda's statement, Kirtida, Radhika's mother, said, O Vrajeshwari Yashoda, you are the queen of our lives. Your order has greatly enhanced the beauty, love, and affection of my darling daughter, Radhika. Those who know the workings of love will be pleased by your request. Every day, Radhika will come and skillfully cook for your son. As soon as the sun rises, she will go to your house. By your mercy, the kingdom of Vrindavan now shines with transcendental glory and stands beyond the effects of time. And stands beyond the effects of time, my friends. Isn't that where you want to go? Isn't that where we want to go? Beyond the effects of time. Kala. Time is Kala. That's the Sanskrit name. What's the Sanskrit name for death? Kala. The time factor. Beyond the effects of time, my friends. That's where we want to go. Okay. Your pleasure alone is our ultimate goal. That's what Kirtida said. After receiving the consent of her elders, Radhika could now freely associate with her beloved. From that day on, she got the green light. As Krishna continued to relish the nectarian foods cooked by her hands, Radhika's desire to offer him the sweet nectar of her lips increased day by day. Radhe Radhe, Jai Radha Krishna. It's great, huh? Oh, you gotta love this. Okay, so let's conclude here. Closing words. If the pleasure derived from Krishna Prema, love of God, is compared to an ocean, then material pleasure is like a drop of water in the hoof print of a calf. Whatever pleasure you think you can get, what you can squeeze out of the material experience here in the material world, my friends, it's like a drop compared to the ocean of transcendental loving pastimes connected to Radha and Krishna. So how do we make it happen? This is how. This is called Loving Radha. How can we develop it so we can get to the point of loving Radha and loving Krishna? By ardent longing or yearning. It's called laulyam in Sanskrit. By developing an ardent longing for serving Krishna and the devotees, by chanting the holy names, our desire and lust for inferior things will diminish day by day. This ardent longing is the qualification for raga bhakti, or spontaneous loving devotion for Krishna. The three keys are prayer, humility, and ardent longing. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. This is what is perfectly embodied in the form of Sri Radha. Does love make the world go round? Yes, my friends, but not here in the material world, only in the spiritual world. So, I invite you to join us on our little journey, to return to the spiritual realm where unconditional love pervades everything and everyone. Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Radhe. Thank you, my friends, for your kind attention. Let's see who was with me today. Harsh Tiwari, Hare Krishna Harsh, Kevin Russell, Kevin, Bhargavaji, he's here, my good friend, close friend, Bhargava. Babu Sahu, thank you for your blessings, Babu. Most appreciated, my friend. Gyani, Krishna Kumari, Rajat Atwal, Ankit Raghav, Haribol Ankit, my old friend Lionel, Anju Yamati, Bala Naidu, wonderful man. How are you, Bala? Missed seeing you at the Dublin Temple. Oh, my old friend Ashwin Pravesh Bodo. Pravesh, how are you, my friend? What a good man he is. Will this class be available on YouTube? No, it'll be available on Dublin Krishna Temple website. If you go onto that, I don't know, tomorrow, next day, and you select videos, and you'll be able to watch it on there. Okay, Krishna Kumari, Michael S. Gray, how are you, Michael? Haribol. Good to see you here, my friend. Thank you so much. Okay, so it was a pleasure speaking to you, all of you. I hope this has been of some small value or inspiration in your life. And may we all get closer to loving Radha.